Yo, what's up, guys? This is day number 2 of the Nashville tour, right? As we're gonna call it.
Call it a tour at this point. The experience.
The experience. We have right here, my man. What's your name, dude?
Ben Satterlee.
Yes, sir, bro. Mr. Ben, Nashville drum coach himself. Now, dude, let's talk. What have you been up to lately?
So I've been enjoying being home for a little bit. I was literally just in Europe for a promo tour with this band I play with called Larkin Poe. Grammy Award winning,
yeah, man.
Although I wasn't on the record. But they're amazing. It's these 2 sisters that have been playing together for forever. Oddly enough, we're like distant cousins. I got really into ancestry and I realized we're related. And also, not just to them, but to the namesake of the band, Larkin Poe. He's like my 8th or 9th cousin, something like that. So I was like, that's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm home for a little bit. We're doing some little spot dates here and there.
Yeah.
I guess we just got tapped to do South by.
Dang.
Oh, shit, come to Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be there in like 2 weeks.
Hey, bro, we're there. We're there.
What day?
Come hang, yeah.
We're there.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But yeah, dude, if y'all are near, shoot, come out to the show because we're only playing like 40 minutes, so I'll have time.
Yeah.
We're there. So yeah, man, and with you, like, I know you're a big advocate on education.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that, man. What do you think makes a good educator?
So, I mean, I came from being completely self-taught up through high school, and the way most jazz band programs work is you have, you know, the saxophone section, the horn section, the rhythm section. The drummer usually doesn't get this is the beat. They get like the lead horn sheet. You know what I mean? So I'm getting hits and punches.
Yeah.
So I'm still pretty trash at reading, like sight reading.
Yeah.
But I know, like, you know, 16th notes, dot, and stuff like that.
Correct.
But for me, it was more, I wanted the ability to hopefully inspire other people coming up the way I wish somebody was there for me. Because I grew up in the days before social media, before really YouTube even.
You're not that old, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, you're how old?
I'm 24, dude.
Okay, I'm 37.
You know what?
31.
So I didn't even have a cell phone until I was 19. So I grew up. I mean, thank God for that. 'Cause I did some dumb stuff. But for me, it was like, man, like I wanted to become hopefully one of those people that I wish was around more. You know. So like, I do private lessons and I do like online chats, but I also just try to give away my knowledge. You know. So like, there's a dope groove that I'll record it and post it because I want other people to be inspired by that. Hopefully they are able to use it too, you know? But yeah, education is something that's also falling by the wayside. A lot of music programs are getting kicked out of schools, which is, I mean, it saved me. You know, I grew up in a part of Tulsa that was a little bit sketchy, and I knew a lot of gangbangers, man, you know, and in my effort to want to belong, you know, it had been real easy to want to get jumped in, but I discovered music, and they knew I loved music. So, and not that they were ever messing with me, anyways, but they were like, "Oh, that's Ben. He's a drummer. He's cool. He's cool."
Yeah.
And so that was my past. And then I got to high school, and my my middle school band director, who really instilled a lot of. He inspired me to pursue music. This amazing man named Mr. Baird. He said, you know, I know you want to do marching band because it's Drumline. Back in the day, that movie was everywhere.
Yeah.
He said, I know you want to do Drumline, but if you ever have a desire to really pursue music, I think you should go to this school, which you had to audition for, kind of like, you know, like Berkeley, and take jazz band under my friend, Mr. Kirk. And I did that. I got in. My grades were crap, but I still got in. And Mr. Kirk, I had him all 4 years, and he showed me so much about music. I learned how to gig.
Yeah.
You know, learned about, you know, feathering the bass drum, and if a person's eating steak 10 feet from you, maybe leave the ping right at home. You know what I mean? Like, it was a lot of stuff that I still use to this day, you know?
And it's funny you talk about that, man, because I'm a teacher myself, and I really harp on my kids. I'm like, hey, if you can't make a lesson this week, come to my gig. And to me, that was some of the most influential times in my life, to where, like, I had mentors come be like, hey man, I'm gonna pick you up and I'm gonna just sit a chair next to their hi-hat pedal and just be like, hey, watch this. And like, there's no like formal lessons like, hey, like, you know, play this thing, right? But like, to me, watching that and being like, okay, what made him play that crash versus that crash? Like, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how do you go about approaching like a student that is more advanced that you might not need to learn to teach, you know, how to read a triplet groove? Like how do you go about teaching those high level students like that?
So I love the fact that you do that, because I did the same thing, and I had a mentor back in my hometown. This guy named Arthur Thompson, who oddly enough, he's in Nashville too, which is hilarious. He did that. He's like, hey, youngster, what are you doing? Okay, I'm going to roll through. I'm going to pick you up.
Yes.
Come check out this gig, or come play me, you know, because like he's a phenomenal hand percussionist. We'd go to the zoo and he'd set up drums. He's like, all right, we're going to play in 5 for 20 minutes. All right, we're going to play in 7. We're going to play in 3. And he'd throw, you know, $40 in my pocket. And I not only got a lesson from this master drummer, but I also got on the job training, and I was learning. So to answer your question, for me, it often ends up becoming less about technique. Although I have some, you know, really high level cats come to me for stuff. It's usually for, man, my right hand's giving me problems. My left elbow hurts. My right knee. You know, my bass drum technique is kind of falling by the wayside. My ghost notes are struggling. So they never come in and say, start from, you know, absolute scratch. They go, there's a specific thing I'm struggling with, and you don't seem to be. So let's work on that. I've said, great. You know, other times it'll be like, hey, let's talk about money. Let's talk about needing this much. Let's talk about touring. So oftentimes it becomes far more encompassing of the whole career, not just playing. That's why the coach came in versus drum teacher. You know what I mean? Yeah. But for me, you know, I always tell all of my students, whether they're coming to me once or for years, I don't want you to sound like me. I want you to sound like you, but be comfortable, be relaxed while doing it. Yeah. You know, if I see them struggling to play the ride cymbal the way they envision, and they come to me, I say, okay, look, I understand what technique you're going for, but we're gonna kind of have to go in a circle a little bit. Yep. I worked a lot with jazz and a lot with Latin play, like legit Latin players.
And I think it's funny you say that, because you can tell where like a cat is like, he's maybe on a country gig, right? But you can still hear like that funk in his playing, that grit. You can hear that, man. Yeah. And I always tell my students, I'm like, man, like for me growing up, I wanted to be a chameleon, you know. And I know Art too, you know, he used to be a hell of a player, man, in Austin, and still is. And like just being that hired gun, right? We talked about that, right? Just being that guy that, hey Ben, I need you tonight. We're playing all clave stuff. Hey bro, tomorrow we're playing all straight ahead jazz stuff. 2 and 4, that's it. Just bring a snare and a hi-hat. And like, you got to be able to get down in that language, bro, and really speak with those cats.
Well, yeah, and like, you know, when I was coming up, there was no such thing as, oh, I just play blues. Oh, I just play country. Well, then you're not going to freaking work. Or you will, but you're going to have a regular 9 to 5. And I was one of, you know, other than me and Arthur, who was the guy that was influence on me, there was a few other guys in my hometown that just did music, but most of them, I mean, there were some amazing, still are, you know, this guy named Jason Burrell, my homie Edison Hill, who's still a good friend of mine. They all were good players, but they also said, you know what, my family requires more of me. So like E has always had a ridiculously good regular 9 to 5 job. Not to mention he's also a ridiculously good drummer, and he could also play like legit congas, you know.
That's tight.
But like, so for me coming up, it was nothing for me to go and play a straight ahead jazz gig with a set of hi-hats, a piccolo, a floor tom as a bass drum, because I didn't have a jazz one, and like a cracked ride. And I'd make $50 in a little, you know, fettuccine Alfredo to go, you know what I mean? And then I'd go and do a gig with this steel drum band where it was soca and calypso all day, you know. And so coming to Nashville, it was different because there were legit specialists coming here. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a stone cold vibe, you know, like Southern rock drummer. I'm like, really? Wow, that's amazing. And then like I have a friend of mine, Megan. She's a phenomenal. She does the singer-songwriter thing better than almost anybody. She's so talented with it. I mean, she can sing and she can play guitar, but she can do the singer-songwriter thing, but then she can do the rock thing. And like, she's not faking it. She's legit good. And me and her always talk is like, we have a very like candid relationship, and I'm always like, Meg, doesn't it drive you insane? Like all these chicks coming up that are like real mediocre, but they're real pretty. She's like, ugh. Because I mean, Meg, not only does she have a dope look, she's got this big old freaking fro. She's got the John Bonham tattoo on her breastplate, like Karchman. If next time you guys come through, you need to check her out.
We'll check it out, yeah.
But she's another one. She came because she likes songs. So if that song is blues, she'll play a blues. If that song is R&B, she's right there. And like seeing stuff like that. She was more like a kindred spirit to me because I'm like, I like blues and I've played lots of blues gigs. I've played funk gigs and rock. And so when I'm playing with a blues band and they're actually surprised, I can tell the difference between a Texas shuffle and say more like a Chicago shuffle.
There's a difference.
There is a big
difference.
freaking difference. Big one, you know? And a lot of people, when they come to town, they're quickly humbled and go like, oh, I don't actually know nearly as much. Or this is technically the right beat, but the feel's not there.
Yes.
Yeah. Like when I was learning clave, all the like Latino homies were, I'm like, first of all, I don't speak Spanish, so you're gonna have to slow way down. But then they would hit me like, okay, you need to know about, you know, this person and this person, listen to this band, learning about 2-3, 3-2, rumba clave, doing the 6/8, the cascada, all that stuff. I had to get hip. So, you know, which is the reason I have like 9 cowbells now. I'm still just doing the thunk, but I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So behind the kick, we like to talk about stuff that people don't always talk about. That's one of our big mottos. And Art can probably speak on that, right?
Right, like so the whole kind of correlation between Chris and I coming together and kind of branching this into a podcast that allows drummers to literally go behind the kick and go, we'll give you a rig rundown and check all that out, but show us that side of you where the character actually matches the chops. That's the bigger side to the podcast of like, we want to actually create a relationship with that person and see what it is that drew us into their kind of space of understanding their playing, where it came from, how they were influenced, and then if they're social media people or if they're just on the road all the time, and going into like this section of getting into the character. Would you say that you kind of grew up into this education sector, providing that and learning from that, and then getting thrown into the fire and saying, okay, I'm going to learn these different styles. Now, understanding all that and living it out, would you say that in that character development, you've learned more on the touring side of it or more on the kind of relationships building and getting into these opportunities to tour with the bands that you mentioned previously, and opportunities to try out for them? Because like, let's be honest, like everybody can have like a really good 2/4 pocket, but sometimes it's more of on those relationship building sections that
I mean, that's a really good and a really loaded question. I would definitely say that your feel and your groove will land you a gig, but your ability to be personable will let you keep it. You know what I mean? Because it's like I've screwed up big time, and like sometimes that was enough, sometimes it wasn't, because they were like, dude, you really suck. You know, like you need to work on this or that, or just get your head right, you know? I think for me, so much of what I learned about this town wasn't necessarily on the road. It was just gigging, period. You know, like, I've told this story before, but like when my wife was pregnant with our oldest son, I was touring with this band, and it came to an end because I was doing the percussion stuff, but not the full band stuff. I literally didn't have time to set up like any kind of ways to like, oh, I'm going out for this job. There was no time. I had to have money now. And so I sold some gear that I had extra of, and sometimes stuff that I did not have extra of. And I set up kick snare and a hi-hat off of 4th and Broadway for 2 months. That's how we paid the bills, up until my wife gave birth to our oldest son. Dang. Like the night that he was born, I was back on Broadway playing. Wow. You know, I've played thousands of shifts on Broadway over the years. I haven't played since pre-COVID. But I've done that. So like I've had people reach out like, hey man, like, what's the best way to learn about this? The best way is to freaking go out there and do it. You know, like I came from a generation that there was no, man, I just want to tour right away. It's like, yeah, but you have to have gigged first. People don't gig anymore. It's the weirdest thing. Like, they go, because like, you know, obviously like they see you on social media, they're like, oh man, he's going to go out and murder it. Not necessarily. That dude's never played with anybody.
It's a big difference between like being in the room, sitting in your own room, and not having like an audience in front of you. That's one thing, but then it's also like, are you musically inclined to watch and listen to the people that are around you playing? You know, you can have it in your ears all day, and you can have the click right by your side, but when the things go wrong, the click goes out, and you got 2,000 people in front of you. Like, what are you gonna do, and how are you gonna lock in when you gotta watch and you gotta see somebody's ways of like, oh, when he lifts his guitar this way, when the singer does this, like this is.
Yeah. Does that mean a tag? Does that mean it? Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, I mean, you know, a huge part of it also is, you know, I talk about this with just people in general, not just students.
Yeah.
Like, you have to work and gig enough to trust that you know what the heck you're doing. Trust your instincts.
Yeah.
There was this one time we were opening up for the Black Crowes in New York City.
Yeah.
And this was 5-6 months ago, maybe.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
Recently. Yeah, recently.
I've seen their show, and it's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
bro.
They're so locked.
Solid. Dude.
Well, we came in, it was just a one-off, in and out, and we realized, holy crap, like, we're about to go over. And like, that's a big no-no, especially when you're the opening act.
Yeah.
And the girls are always very, they don't care who it is, we're gonna always be on time. We'll cut a song rather than go over. And they realize, like, oh crap, we still have like a 30-second like outro after this part right here that we're not gonna be able to do. So they looked back at me, and I just knew that instead of continuing on, it was just going to be a retard. But I had about 2 seconds
to make that decision,
to understand what they were asking by a look.
Right.
Yeah.
And thankfully it worked out, and I was like, oh, thank God. And they all went, yes. Like, but it was me trusting my own instincts, you know? There's also times where my instincts were super wrong, you know? But you have to learn about those, you know, like, and I always tell like my students, I'm like, look, if you know, like, I love playing with piccolo snares, but I don't tune them like a piccolo. I love the deep stuff.
Yeah.
So I can go into a coffee shop knowing that this piccolo is going to be perfect, not because it can be super loud, or just, no, I can tune it to the room. I always say that, you know. If I got a set of hi-hats that's a little bit too chicky, all right, let's tape them up. Let's put a sock in between or something, you know.
Man.
But I've done that out of necessity enough that now I can go, you know what, I can play any gig now with one crash, one ride instead of hi-hats. All day.
Yeah.
You know, but it's trusting that. A lot of people now, because they've only been conditioned to do social media, and that's why I always say, like, social media is not real. Like, I always really try to dial that in, like, look, there are some amazing players on social media that have never toured or played outside of their bedroom. Doesn't mean that they're not good, but to automatically hire this person and expect them to have a temperament that's gonna mesh with cats they just met.
Yeah.
Man.
You were surprised, man, how many people I know, like, that are on social media that are like, oh, dude, you know, such and such is playing this gig, we gotta go check him out. I'm like, dude, like, that dude's never played with a band. This is his first night playing with other people. Like, I'm not gonna go see that.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna sound like. I mean, what do you think nowadays is like, and this is your opinion, what would you say makes a pro player?
The ability to not feel like they have to impress anybody. Like, when I go and do a gig, like that one I told you about, the acoustic thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't going in trying to do anything to impress the singer, even though I'm a huge fan of what he is and what he's done. I was just trying to play those songs and do right by the dude that hired me.
Yeah.
So that singer goes, good call. He was the right call for that, you know? And of course it didn't work out for whatever reason. But I knew that I wasn't going to have to go like, hey, check out, I can play this tumbao. Like, he doesn't give a crap about that. It's a ballad, you know?
Yeah, dude.
So a lot of it is, I always tell people, I'm like, look, you have to be personable. And I've caught myself doing it. I've been caught doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've learned a lot, man. There's some people in town that won't let you forget your past. And I've caught myself doing the same thing where, like, I felt like they wronged me, or they felt like I wronged them, or whatever. And I've had to really kind of go like, you know what, we don't need this. But there are some people, when they first meet you, that'll always be who you are. And there's a couple people where I literally was just like, look, I think it's a Tupac quote. It's like, I don't want them to not be able to eat. I just don't want them to eat at my table. And I'm like, I love that, you know, because it's true. There's a couple people that genuinely don't like me in this town. And I still wish them nothing but the best. I don't badmouth them. Honestly, I'm too busy. I don't care. But that being said, living your life always trying to, like, put folks down, as opposed to, like, I want to inspire folks. Like, if I get a message from somebody, it's like, oh, I'm in this village in you know, northern England, and my son is wanting to take a lesson with you. Bet, we did it. And what we talked about wasn't so much his gigging, because he was a phenomenal player. It was how he could get a free fish and chips at this local pub, right? And then his dad hit me up like 2 months later. He's like, man, he just made like 30 quid and he got fishing and like he's gigging, and I'm like, that's what it's about. I want that. I want more people winning. So like I never publicize who my students are.
Yeah.
And there's, dude, I've had a couple on like major TV shows, had major ads in magazines. That's all I want.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh well, he taught me some stuff. Pump that.
Yeah.
My whole goal is for y'all to win. And
That's
you know,
super dope, man.
Dude, you know, like I'm 37. I'm not getting any younger. It's like there come a time where I no longer tour, but I still want to teach. I still want to track and do sessions and stuff.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of being able to teach somebody and then just release them and watch them grow. And you know, there's this one kid who he came to me to get lessons when he was 14, right? And I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with like Christian music or anything like that, but there's this worship artist named Sean Foyt.
I've heard that.
Who's done some real big stuff.
Yeah.
During COVID, he was doing like the Let Us Pray thing where they were just, getting together.
Yeah.
This little turd his name's Jacob. In my phone back in the day, I literally had it as Jacob Spazzy because he was such a spaz, right? He's now Sean's drummer. And he's murdering that gig. And I messaged him, and he's got an adorable family. He's got a wife and 2 little kids. And I'm like, dude, you did it.
Yeah, man.
You moved to Florida. We lost contact, and then you're back. He lives in Nashville now. We're supposed to hang out. And I'm like, you're doing what you always wanted to do.
Yeah.
You win, man. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of him. You know, I love seeing that.
Yeah.
And I think we need more people that are just willing to go like, let me just, without strings attached, let me guide you. Hey, I know you're there. Now go.
Yeah.
And watch them like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Where it's not an ulterior motive.
I think that's Chris's like one of his strongest keys, and the way I've seen him talk about teaching is like he's so specific on like you didn't start your fill on the rack, you started it here on the floor for a reason, and there's a difference. And you got kids who are like, no, it's the same fill, and it's like, no,
dude.
like there's a different dynamic,
man.
there's a different correlation between the song for it. And I respect that a lot just from learning dynamics and being that kid that grew up and was just like a loud player, you know. But making a point on like wanting everybody to win, it's also one of those things where you kind of cut your teeth in the industry and like you're used to just going out there and getting what you need to make ends meet. And I think that's pretty important because like you're going out there and setting up shop and, kicks in their hat and just trying to make it. And like raise kids and do all of that, which is all respect, because it's like you're doing the thing that you love and you're like, man, if I do anything else, I know that it just won't make me happy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, dude, when the world freaking shut down, like that was a wild, I'm still kind of reeling from that,
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
perfectly
everybody
honest,
is,
man. Like,
I think everybody is.
I'll go and, sometimes I'm gonna go like, yo, like really? Like that happened and we all dealt with it somehow.
Yeah.
My homie Pete, who'd be a really good one. His name's Pete Parada. He was the drummer for The Offspring.
Okay.
For 15 years,
Wow,
right?
yeah.
Give it to me, babe.
Yeah.
And I met him at the darkest period of his life. He had just been let go. And without getting political, he has this neurological thing where his body reacts different to certain stimuli, and like so, like he told me he got the flu shot like 5 or 6 years ago, and his arms stopped working for like 3 weeks. And as a drummer, that's bad. So his doctor was like, "Yo, don't." I think you should hold off on taking the vaccine. And it wasn't like he's not anti-vax anything. It just literally was like, hey, I just don't know how this is going to.
Correct.
Long story short, he was fired because of it. I reached out to him because I was like, hey man, I don't know you at all. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And we ended up becoming homies out of that. And what's funny is that for 3 years we'd FaceTime, but we never saw each other. And then just randomly, like maybe 6-7 months ago, we were on the same flight. We got to sit together and we talked for like 3, but he's the nicest guy. But it's like, he was another one, man. Like I was able to befriend him, and I mean, it was a dark period of my life because not only was I not gigging, I wasn't teaching, I wasn't touring. None of my homies were working.
Yeah.
And we were all just going like,
what's going on?
What next?
Yeah.
How do we, do I really need that 15th snare drum? Or 10 of them for that matter. You know, it's like that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, it was a crazy period. So, you know, to circle back, like it's like it's so easy to kind of lose sight of what's important. And I try to really surround myself, like we mentioned Chris McHugh. Like Chris McHugh is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Not to mention he's also kind of become a mentor.
Yeah.
You know, he's helped me a lot. It's crazy that like there are people at that level, because he is at a level I would love to be able to get close to, but it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he's you know, I was texting him a few days ago. He's like, yeah, man, I just, you know, because I was thanking him for helping me out with something, and he was like, yeah, man, it means a lot to me to be able to give back. And I'm like, golly, you're Chris McHugh, dude. Like, thank you. He's him. But yeah, dude, it's such a crazy time, and I hope to be able to continue to see other people grow and inspire, like that, you know, that pay it forward thing. Like, hey, he helped me, so I'm going to help you, and you help go. You know, just go and be a blessing to others.
Yeah, yeah. I used to work at Guitar Center, man, and like doing that, I would have kids. I'd be like jamming on the kit, you know, in between students, and like some little 4-year-old come walk by and they look at me and like their mom like, oh, do you give lessons? I'm like, yeah, and I'd like take them and like sit them on my lap, bro, and like play drums like this, and they would just be like, you know, and like to me, like that was like I was that kid too, bro. So that was like the coolest thing to see that, and I'm like, man, like this, like. I love teaching, because to me, you can give back in a sense. And to me, if I can pay that forward, like you talked about, man, that's it, bro. I love touring, and I definitely want to get back on the road as much as I can, man. But like, just as far as that, like, how do you think that has impacted your personal life, man? That the fact that you can give back to people in your job per se.
Sure. I think me becoming a father changed a lot of my mindset. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I got 3 little boys and another one on the way, and seeing them get inspired and just about like simple stuff, like going out and they want to freaking go climb trees or go fishing and stuff like that. Like just seeing how something so small can be so huge to them. It made me realize, like, it made me start thinking about like legacy. Like, what am I leaving behind for them? Well, it's not $1 million, you know, but hopefully, you know, during like the whole COVID thing, I was thinking like, what is it that I have to leave behind? And hopefully they look back when I've long since passed and go like, my father tried to instill in himself and others a desire to be more than you were, and to do more than you have to for others. Because this music thing, all of this, from the podcast to the record, all of it matters to me. And I want to see it going long after I'm gone. And this is my way of kind of giving back. I mean, music really did save me out of a lot of horrible situations, and showed me how much stronger I can become through music. So to be able to hopefully inspire the next generation to ensure that we still have this in 30 years, in 40 years, because that was one of my biggest fears when COVID hit. I was like, oh man, we're going to lose an entire generation of little boys and little girls that go, you know what, I'd rather be whatever. And that's fine too. Like there are some days where my boys are like, I want to be a construction worker. I was like, heck yeah. Or they're like, I think I want to be a garbage man. Sure. I'm like, because I also, you know, I come from humble origins. You know, my grandfather was a janitor. Like I've done all the different freaking jobs myself. So like, they're all valid. They're all important. But not many people get inspired to become a janitor. You dig? You know, whereas music, our job is to hopefully inspire people to explore, or to elicit a response in them where you're like, why am I feeling this way? Well, it's because I'm playing with brushes to back up this very, you know, sentimental song. And then when that passage gets just as big and you're like, oh, then the sticks come in, you're like, wow, it's like you're painting in real time something that they're feeling.